Hello, it's been a while. Like, a while. But moving on, putting all that in the past, I want to cover a gun that I don't ever see talked about much in PlanetSide today, and that's the MKV. A lot of people write this thing off as a shitty PDW, and I entirely understand why. It's a PDW with a suppressor built into it. That's all it is. Or so you would think, because after pulling some detailed stats for this gun, well, it has better recoil angles than the PDW, which I never see brought up. PDW has negative 12.25 to negative 19 recoil angle, whereas the MKV is 8.25 to 14. So this means you're down about 4 degrees of recoil angle across the board. Your gun pulls a different direction. The negative just means you pull to the left. But you're down on recoil. And what this does is it makes the MKV noticeably easier to control. And to top this all off, even with the increased rate of fire over the PDW, it doesn't really affect the recoil. So it's really a PDW that's significantly better at being an SMG. Just, it's not as good as at range, but you don't build an SMG for range anyway. Like, gameplay is just going to be in the back. That's kind of the plan if I choose to do these little hidden gems, if you will. A series is I'll just talk about the gun and have gameplay in the back. That's what's happening. And if it wasn't already obvious, I'm doing it live because it's more interesting that way. Anywho, as I was saying, the MKV is... people don't talk about it that much, and I can't really understand why. A lot of people will just write it off and tell you to go do the new SMGs, whether it be the Canis, the Jackal, or the Gladius, instead, and skip the MKV entirely. Now, I did my SMGs back before these new SMGs were a thing, but still, I don't understand why you would skip it. It's, in my opinion anyway, superior to the PDW, because it's just better at being an SMG. Like, if you wanted a ranged SMG, well, you wouldn't. You just pick the scout rifles, whether it be the Vandal or the Artemis or the Eidolon or whatever. You don't build an SMG for range because the only benefit the PDW has over the other SMGs at range is about 30 meters, give or take. But it doesn't really matter that much because the scout rifle's already far ahead of the PDW ever can hope to be once you get to that range. Ow. So it really leaves the question of why? Like, there's no... the PDW, like, it's a neat idea, it just doesn't work with the way PlanetSide's gun rolls, if you will, are set up. Whereas the MKV takes what the PDW does good, i.e. a far damage range, 10 meters, and 15 meters of soft point ammo, which is absurdly good for an SMG, might I add, considering that most usually get to 11, 12. It's just... it just seems to do everything the PDW does better, with the better recoil angles. The horizontal and vertical recoil numbers are exactly the same, they are identical. The only thing that's different is the recoil angle. It's just, it's easier to control. It's got a better fire rate, so it's got a better time to kill. It has the pre-built suppressor, whether this is a con or a pro is up to you. If you threw the suppressor on the PDW, the MKV has a slightly better velocity, although it's 6 meters a second, which means absolutely nothing in gameplay terms, but it's worth mentioning. Now what if you factor the compensator in on the PDW and put the forward grip on both weapons, so that you have an even playing field? They'll have identical horizontal recoil per shot values, and the PDW will only have a slightly better vertical recoil per shot. But vertical recoil is easier to control than horizontal is, and having a better, more consistent horizontal recoil angle found on the MKV is arguably going to make you aim better. Like, I feel comfortable going toe-to-toe with heavies in this thing. And this is on Hunter Cloak, not Nano Armor. This is honestly not really that close of a meta build whatsoever. But you get the point. I'll try and get some ADS specific play in, so that you can see, like, its ADS controllability. Ow. Jaguar mains. It's just, I don't know, never see this gun get talked about. Like, and it's weird, because it feels anyway, that it's just better than the PDW. I personally found that the PDW's recoil was too inconsistent for what it was trying to be. A ranged gun, you don't want inconsistent recoil on. But the MKV, I would feel more comfortable if it ranged despite the pre-installed suppressor, because it's got much, much better recoil angles. Although the mag size will let you down, but that's common trait across all the first gen and NS SMGs, so it doesn't really matter that much. And for what it's worth, this is the gold variant, yes. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a nice weapon to have. It is a strong SMG. It's not the best. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't pick the MKV over the Cyclone or the Shuriken. I still wholeheartedly believe those are the best two SMGs, and I'd probably say the Sirius is better on mono at least. But if you're looking for a 4th SMG to Araxium, one more gun to round out the directive, I would pick the MKV over whatever your other gun is. Well, I'm assuming here that you've already done the Cyclone or the Eridani or the Sirius, whatever. And we're down to the mediocre SMGs where it's PDW, MKV, Canis, Hailstorm. If you have to do it for a 4th SMG, pick it over the rest, because your experience may mild. Like, your experience may mild. Early morning, can you tell? For a 4th SMG, it's really not that bad of a pick, because it's comfortable to play. I recommend a laser sight, but you can grip it if you want to try and make it work at range, or you could extend a maggot. It's really up to you. I personally believe the laser is the best choice, but of course, it's your gun, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. It works generally better on a CQC infiltrator build, just because, well, it doesn't have that much range, and it's got a pre-built suppressor, which means that you aren't going to show up on the minimap or have muzzle flashes, which means you can really confuse players who are in tight spots, just because your gun won't be flashing at them. Of course, if you don't check your corners, like I did, things aren't going to go well. But you'll get the drop on players who aren't looking for you, because the suppressor isn't going to make you show on the map, so people aren't going to find you that easily. And without the muzzle flash, you're just harder to spot, especially at nighttime. It's a pretty large advantage over guns that don't have a suppressor, or a flash suppressor. I don't know, I really like this gun, what can I say? I want to keep talking about it, but I feel like I'm already dragging on. So, I don't know. As I play, if I see something, or feel like I should discuss something, I guess I'll bring it up. Wow, that was a nice shot. Oh yeah, it's Emerald, NSO, got slotted into Vanu. Don't know how long I want to make this, honestly. I kind of want to, if I choose to do this, ow, I should have seen that one coming. I kind of want to have it be shorter videos, but more gameplay orientated than most gun reviews are, where they're reading off a script and telling you the stuff in advance. I prefer the idea of just telling you my thoughts live as they happen, so you can get a more, I don't know, it sounds cheesy, but you can get more of a kind of a live impression of the gun and how it plays out in actual combat, rather than just seeing cherry-picked review sections. So this way, you're getting, hopefully anyway, some good scenes of it, shots of it, whatever you want to call them, but you'll also be able to see where the weapon just lets you down, instead of in most reviews where it's all edited together and reading off a script. And don't get me wrong, those are good, especially the guys who make them, not that there are many left, but the ones that are out there are pretty high quality. Anyway, I think so. But it always, to me, feels like they're picking the best that the gun has to offer, and the shortcomings are pointed out very, not briefly per se, but they're pointed out very obviously, and there's clips to doctrinate these supports rather than actually seeing it happen in live play. Just my opinion, of course. Yeah, couldn't get out of that situation. Oh, and your recoil, not recoil, your reload speed is quite good. Apart from the recoil values in the pre-installed suppressor, the gun, the MKV, and the PDW seem to be identical. I would need someone to pull into the stats because I don't really want to in the middle of the video to double check. I might do an addendum in the comments or in the description. It's been a while since I did this. And kind of just double check everything to make sure I am right in saying that they are identical outside of the recoil angle and suppressor. But with the recoil angle, and I know I'm jumping topics like a hair out of a hat, I don't know. It's early morning. It's early morning Emerald. Like, it's what you're gonna get. And I hope it makes it somewhat unique, if you will. But the recoil angle question of why this gun has a flat-out better recoil angle than the PDW is why. The PDW and the MKV are the same gun chassis. Like, they're the same platform. Like, I don't know what kind of magical suppressor this has to be in order to make the gun recoil better. Because that's a trait I've honestly never heard of. Why a suppressor would make your gun shoot more straight. It doesn't make sense to me. And it seems like an artificial feature added on to the MKV to make it better. Like, it's, I will admit, without the recoil angles, it's honestly not that amazing, and you probably would be better off with the PDW. But with that recoil angle factored in, for whatever reason it's in there, who knows, it was SOE days, it just makes it kind of better than the PDW at what it's trying to do. But it's not so much thanks to the pre-installed suppressor. I think what they could do to make both guns more consistent would you should bring, not you, but Daybreak. If they brought the PDW's recoil angle down a little bit, closer to MKV's, I think that'd be better, so that the guns would feel more consistent as a platform, so that it would kind of feel like you're doing an MKV, but it's got a pre-built suppressor with some other neat features tacked onto it. Instead of the weirdly better recoil that doesn't make much sense. From a game balance standpoint, it does to accentuate the two weapons and make them feel different from each other. But from a logic perspective, it doesn't make that much sense. And it seems kind of like an oversight that got left behind in a way. Because it doesn't feel like the MKV is supposed to have better recoil. Like, it doesn't really make much sense as to why. Ow. It just.
There's more.
Thanks, Brooks Chat. I don't know. It doesn't make that much sense to me. And yeah, I'm rambling on. Like, told you, live footage, whatever comes to mind, gets said. As for what I recommend, because I feel obligated to after all, since it is kind of a review of sorts, I would obviously slot a 1x on it, because you're not going to need higher than a 1x at any time for an SMG. Of course, you've got the pre-installed suppressor, so you can't do anything to the barrel at all. Like, zip nada. It'd be cool if you could do some kind of, like, aftermarket compensator of sorts that would still be silent, maybe? So you could put the suppressor in front of... I don't know how any of this works. But it would be neat if there was something you could do to the barrel to make the gun a bit more varied from the PDW. At least in terms of look and function. Of course, they're quite different. But it would be nice if there was some kind of modification you could make to the barrel. Wow, that guy should have checked better. Yeah, I wasn't coming out of that one. I couldn't have stopped chatting because I felt like I should have at least made the effort. Where was I? Oh yeah, barrels. Yeah, you can equip any. It'd be neat if you could, but you can't, and I don't suspect that'll change. So, I hope you like the suppressor. As for the rail, you've got a triple whammy here. Don't take the Dark Light. Dark Lights are not that good, and if you're going to insist on running one because you hate infiltrators, take it on your secondary instead. I personally like the laser sight. However, I see viability in the extended mag, and while it wouldn't be my first pick if you want to try a more ADS-centric build, the forward grip does make sense as well, as you're making your recoil just already better. Of course, PDW is still worse even with the compensator, but it feels more comfortable to play if you're going for a range build, thanks to the farther maximum damage range and the fact that the vertical recoil is less on the PDW if you range build it. But a grip build does work if you're gonna go for an ADS-centric playstyle on the MKV. I don't think it's optimal, but you could do it, and you really wouldn't be suffering that much. And of course, take soft point. Always take soft point. It's available generally. There's a few exceptions, but as a general rule of thumb, you want soft point if it's available. So, yeah, that's the MKV Suppressed. It's a good gun, and it's definitely one I think a lot of people sleep on. You don't see a whole lot of it out in the field. You don't see it ever get talked about much other than, oh, it's just that shitty PDW. It's kind of underrepresented for what it is. And I'm hoping that with this video and maybe eventually the series, that I can bring more of these kind of left out guns that are actually fairly decent to light. Kind of let them have some of the time they deserve and didn't get, as stupid as that sounds. It's just, I don't know. I don't really like seeing guns get just completely abandoned thanks to the meta, whether it be Cyclone or Beetlegeese or NS-15 or Butcher or Anchor or whatever. Or MSWR, I suppose. It's just, it sucks always seeing the same guns out in the field. And it'd be nice if there was a bit more diversity in meta choices rather than, here, pick Nanoweave or you are bad. Since Nanoweave is so ridiculously strong. But anywho, that makes a perfect time, that base being captured and an entire Vanu column moving on, that makes a perfect time to round things off at about 12 minutes, give or take. Sounds about right. That's a good time to ballpark for. Anywho, that's the MKV. I don't know what else to say. It's the MKV. It's a good gun, and if you haven't, give it a shot. Put a gold on it, see if you like it. Compare it to the PDW yourself. See which one you like. But try it. It's really not that bad of a gun, and you might surprise yourself. So, that's all.